and this morning I am joined on air by Ignazio Dentici. Did I say that well?
Yeah, that's pretty close, so thank you.
Okay, good morning and welcome.
Yeah, good morning and great to be here. Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Thank you for coming in to see me today, and you're going to be sharing your wonderful work, all the things you do. We're going to be sharing your website and everything like that. But before we get into that, just tell me a little bit about you. And do you live locally to Marlow?
Yes, I live in High Wycombe in a little area called Walter's Ash.
So not very far away from us then. And how long have you been there, Ignazio?
I've been in High Wycombe now 17 years, so since I moved here from Italy.
And tell us what brought you over from what I haven't actually visited Italy. It's on my list of places to go, and I imagine it's beautiful. So tell me what enabled you to just think, I'm leaving this beautiful place and coming to another beautiful place. But I suppose we always look at other places with so much more high regard, don't we? So what brought you over here?
Yes, it was work like it is for a lot of people. And I was living in Sicily, and I studied there as a chemical engineer. And so I got my master's. And then I took some time off and went to India for 6 months. And then started to try and figure out what to do if I really wanted to pursue chemical engineering, since I was already on my spiritual path. And essentially a friend was living in Wycombe, and he was about to leave for Australia and said, I can give you hospitality for a couple of weeks if you want to look for a job. And so I came here, and I found immediately the perfect job at the perfect time. So that was amazing. Within a week I was here. I had his house, his car.
Wow, that's alignment right there, isn't it? What was that perfect job?
I worked for a company called Alga Lab Water, part of a greater group company called Veolia. And basically I worked on research in water purification and designing technology that could improve water purification for both hospitals and research centers.
Wow, that must have been fascinating. So that brought over your chemical engineering and all the stuff that you had already learned prior to going to India and going on your spiritual path.
Yes.
So tell me how that looked for you. So you did that for a while, I'm imagining. How long were you in that sort of field?
So for about 10 years. But my spiritual journey started while I was at university. So in the beginning of my studies. And so my kind of life changed, even though I continued to study, but I was already practicing a lot of meditation, and that was my priority.
Tell me what led, I'm a massive fan of meditation, as you know,
I know.
Teach it myself. We're going to have an 11 minutes. So if you're still here for that, we can share that together.
Sure.
But tell me what drew you to meditation, because for me, it was sort of crisis point almost. I wonder what that looked like for you.
Crisis point. I was 21, 22 years old and going to university, and I had a nice family and everything, but I still had a lot of problems and a lot of anger and a lot of social anxiety, loads of different problems. And so one day it just dawned on me that it was me, that it wasn't really the world. In the beginning, I didn't realize that, life sucked in a way. But then one day, I realized, well, maybe it has to do something with me. And these words from this song of Marley came to me that were, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our mind. And that was something that I wrote on this little kind of journal, and for the first time I started to journal. And that kind of opened the door to then like a bit of a extreme awakening from one day to another. So there was a little bit of a prep, looking in, and then boom, an explosion. And then I was meditating.
That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, hearing you share that, I think, wow, because at university age as well. So for me, this kind of, even though I'd always dipped in and out of things, I think I went off on different tracks until I finally come back. But to have that insight and awareness to think maybe it's me, because ultimately that is the secret, isn't it? But how difficult is it? Because it's so easy to blame everything outside of ourselves. So to look inward is almost the hardest thing. But I think that's fascinating that you, at such a young age, came to that. And from that Bob Marley song, which I think is the one track that you want to play that we've actually got. So great, we can listen to that. But that is, I mean, he's got some great words, hasn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
Woven through his music. And there's a quote, actually, I think, some people feel the rain, others just get wet. And it's that same principle, isn't it? But that's amazing that you found it so early. So was it from the song that led you to the meditation?
It wasn't really the song. I mean, there was a bit of a preparation. And then for the first time in my life, I started to be guided. Like, I'd never had that sensation. And one day I was guided to this bookcase. And my hand went in there and I took out this book from Gandhi. And it was a gift that the principal gave to me the one time that I did something right, because usually I was creating a mess at school. And so I started to read that, but I was very atheist. And every time Gandhi mentioned God, I would just skip. I wasn't really interested. But I was interested in the morality and his seeking the truth. And then one night it happened that my brain, my mind, decided not to skip the word God and give it that little bit of a chance. And it was like this electric shock went through my body and then put me to sleep. And then that night I had the most amazing dreams and out-of-body experiences. And then I woke up in a state of bliss and crying. And at that moment, everything was guided. I wouldn't even move a muscle.
That must have been quite a transformational moment for you then, to be going through crisis point, as you shared, to then be able to feel this way. And I'm imagining your days felt lighter and your life looked brighter, right?
Yes, it was completely different. And I had planned to go study for a chemical engineering subject in my kind of parents' summer home. But I went there and I sat in meditation, and that lasted almost 3 weeks. And so for 3 weeks, it was just bliss and looking and seeing things I had never seen before, and having activated loads of things in the brain and creativity. And so I kind of then left there after 3 weeks and then started to look around to figure out what had happened, because I knew it and I felt it internally, but I didn't really even know about meditation. I mean, I knew about prayer and Catholic religion, but I didn't know meditation or these states of consciousness or spirituality. So
3 weeks... Were you in silence, just by yourself?
Well, strangely enough, after about 1 week, one of my best friends came to visit me. And the moment they walked in, they also sat in meditation and stayed for the remaining 2 weeks with me. It was like the energy was so powerful. And as that was happening, my 4 other best friends were also going through a spiritual awakening. So within a month or 2, we were 6 brothers, best friends, all starving for meditation and spiritual knowledge. And we kind of pinned our first meditation teacher down, went to her house and have her deliver a course just for us. And we were like...
Wow. Yeah. And where was this? Where was the meditation teacher, and how did you find her?
In Sicily. I found her because when this happened, we really didn't know where to turn. So we looked for basically the person that used to do religion and spirituality in our school, which normally he would walk in and I would walk out of the class. And I was going back there and first of all saying sorry about that. And he was he took it very lightheartedly and pointed us in the direction of a meditation teacher, master, who had themselves a master that then I met and became my main guide for the first 10, 15 years.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm going to digest what you said. We are going to play a bit of Bob Marley, the Redemption song, and this is where that line that you shared, share that line with us again.
Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds.
We're going to listen, and then I also want to touch on journaling as well that you mentioned. We are talking all about you and what led you to where you are today, which has been fascinating. If you've just tuned in and you've missed any of the show, you can listen again at marlowfm.co.uk. But we're going to dive back into where we were. So that particular track was one of your choices. And you wrote that little line down out of it and put it in a journal. And then is that where you first discovered the power of journaling?
Absolutely. It was, it wasn't planned. It was just a revelation how by putting things on paper you could start to see things more clearly, because essentially you're bringing them up from the subconscious and bringing it to the conscious. So you see them and they're reflected and they're much clearer. So that was amazing. And I then continued more with journaling about my dreams, because those were the things that escaped my conscious mind the most. And so I was more curious.
Do you know, I mean, synchronicity and alignment and all that. On the way here this morning, do you have Insight Timer?
I do.
So, you know, it has a quote a day flashes up.
It does.
So every now and again, one really gets me. And I screenshot today's one, and it was this. I write to discover what I know. And because, you know, I've written as well my book, and I think that is where the discovery is. The moment you kind of can see that you're having this conversation with yourself and understanding the deeper parts of you, it's so powerful. So does your has that continued with you, your journaling all the time?
No, I don't do it all the time, and I don't do much of it right now, but it has had many years of journaling, and again, especially dreams, and all the analysis of the dreams too. So I was journaling on that and trying to figure out, and I had indexes and titles and themes for all of my dreams. So I really dove deep into that.
Wow, that's amazing, because I don't remember a lot of my dreams. So can you give us a bit of an insight on how do you even access the dreams?
Sure. It's a huge chapter, but essentially the first thing is to pay attention to them, because the subconscious mind is very helpful and collaborative when we engage it. And the dreams come and are formed in the subconscious mind. So the first thing is to pay attention and be interested, and almost, also communicate with the subconscious mind. We're used to dialoguing in our head all day, but we do it unconsciously. And we think that if we have a conscious dialogue, we're crazy, but it's the other way around. Dialoguing within ourselves and with parts of ourselves consciously is a good way to take the place of just the chatter going in the background. And so the first thing is attention and expressing your desire to your subconscious to remember. And then the second is awareness at the point of falling asleep, because there's that door and that switch between states, which is also, by the way, the state of deep hypnosis, which I work with. And so bringing awareness to that place is almost like when the door opens, it leaves it a little bit more open for the dream to then be downloaded into the conscious mind. And then finally, when you awake, also pay that attention. Be present to the moment when you awake. Don't move too much, maybe even keep your eyes closed, and then recall the dream as if you were going to bed and remembering the day that you just lived. And by doing that over and over, even if in the beginning you don't get that much, it will start to come and emerge, and you'll have more material than you need.
Wow, that's amazing, because I must say I am guilty. I'm one of these people, in the morning when you need to know the time, if you've got children, I reach for my phone. And I really want to make more of a conscious effort to, take those steps, because I go into those spaces for a period of time. And then it's easy just to build up unhealthy habits, isn't it? And you lose that kind of connection or that ability to go a bit deeper. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. My pleasure.
So there's so much I want to ask you. So before we even come on to today, so you had your group of brothers. You all wanted this deeper meaning, which was great because you already had that community around you. Is that when you then all went to India? Did you go together?
No, I went to India first by myself, and then I met one of my best friends there, but that happened many years later. So I studied another 4 years for my chemical engineering degree, and then after that I went to India. So in those 4 years, I practiced and studied and went to retreats all the time. And so when I got to India, I had already 4 years of full-time yoga and meditation. But it was an amazing experience. India was just a chapter on its own.
Yeah, and how long were you there for? 6 months?
Yes.
That is powerful. It's something I'd like to do at some stage. But do you find that having those resources and the connections that you built on this opening up of, you know, all that's inside, having that support and community around you made that understanding and development much easier?
Yes, it's hard for me to imagine not having gone what I've gone through without my best friends also being on the same boat in the same wavelength. And we were a powerhouse, so we were all of our outer circle of friends. I think everybody went to the meditation courses that we were going to, because everybody that we would meet would just see us meditate, and we were in love with it, and they saw transformation in all of us. So if I go back and I look at all the other friends that went to these courses, it was like...
That's amazing. Are you still in touch with a lot of these people now?
Yes, I'm going to see them all. When I go back to Italy, I'm going back tomorrow, and I have, you know, a weekend with some and then a week with others and my family. So yeah, we're still as strong as ever.
Oh, that's lovely. So you must be so excited tomorrow to go back. So you're taking your family with you?
Yeah, my daughter's flying with me tomorrow, and my wife will join us in 10 days.
Oh, that's amazing. So whereabouts in Italy are you going to?
I'm from Sicily. So
you're going back to Sicily.
Yeah, the island at the bottom, yeah.
That's lovely, isn't it? Wow. Gosh, I've got so many things I want to say. So you went to India, you came back, you obviously had your moment where everything aligned for you to come to the UK,
yes.
and that was in High Wycombe,
yes,
where you've been ever since.
Yes.
And you did your work. At what point did you come out of that and think, okay, my understanding and knowledge and passion and love for this work is so great, this is now what I need to do full time? When was that switch?
So the switch that led me to actually change was in 2018. But the knowledge and the desire to change had always been there. Because, it was just like, I knew that's what I needed to do. I wasn't sure about how I was going to do it. And so after a few years in England, after a couple of years, I kind of then got my meditation teacher qualification from the school and the master that I was, studying with. And then I started to teach in 2010. So I think it was another 8 years of still teaching meditation and doing courses, a retreat, before I left my job. And in the meantime, I also found out about QHHT hypnosis, which was also a life changer. And that held answers to some questions that I had still not answered in all those years of meditation practice. So that came together, and soon after I left my job.
Yeah, we're going to talk a bit more about that as well. So just really for my own personal interest and anyone else local to Marlow and in High Wycombe, you had a huge network which gave you the support, and you had, your teacher. When you came over here, where did you go to access and connect? I want to go there.
Sure.
Where did you go?
Well, I was lucky in the sense that apart from all my meditation kind of passion, I also had a deep passion for West African traditional music. And so I had gone also to Africa in the meantime to study in a village, drumming and ritual drumming. And so when I came here, that was kind of the first thing that I looked for. And I found a group of people that were doing it. And so then we kind of created a band together. And so immediately I had a group of friends in a community around, and they were all spiritual and interested, and most of them did meditation then with me, and yoga and hypnosis. So that was a good, entrance into the English society. I was lucky in that sense.
Wow. So are you still part of that drumming community now?
Not as much. When my daughter was born 11 years ago, so, all this thing, lasted many years, I kind of was working full-time and in a band seriously and teaching meditation. And so at that moment when my daughter was born, I said, okay, what is going to kind of drop? And the drumming dropped. And so it stayed a passion, and I do it once in a while, but I don't do rehearsals and, that much. But I still see some of the people that I drummed with.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's really lovely.
Yeah, actually, shout out to Justine Hart, who runs a drumming group in High Wycombe.
Wow, and what age is that for?
It's for all ages, really. She works with children in schools, but she does drumming. She's been doing it, I'm not sure if it's 25 years or 20 years, a long time. And she's amazing, so...
Wow, I'm going to look her up. My daughter plays the drums. She's really good.
Super.
And she loves it. Just
Super.
apps. She's in the school band, and it's something I can feel that connection is deeper than just the...
Yeah, this is African drumming. Yeah, African.
Which I think she's done a tiny bit of that. You know, Oshala Festival and things like that. They have that there, don't they?
They do.
So, wow. So you left your job and then you came into the work that you do now. So we're going to have another track, and then we are going to deep dive into your website, which is Human Spiritual Evolution. Anyone listening can have a look at that now while this next track's playing. And then I just want you to tell me all about everything that's present for you.
Thank you.
So we're having Enigma, Return to Innocence. Any reason for this track?
I think we're returning to innocence. That's the direction. We're going back to what we were designed to be and born to be.
There we go. That was Enigma. If you've just tuned in, this is Marlow FM, and we are talking about spiritual development and so much more this morning on air. Ignazio.
Hello.
We've been having a wonderful conversation this morning, a bit about your journey to where you are today. And let's come back to this moment. Let's arrive here now and tell me about your practice, your business, what work looks like for you. And I shared your website, which is humanspiritualevolution.com. So for anyone listening that wants to find out about you, they can have a look on there. But quantum healing, hypnosis, tell us all about everything you do. Over to you.
Well, thank you. So, I work with people mainly in a couple ways. One is through hypnosis, and one is through spiritual practices. And the hypnosis is called QHHT, which stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And the meditation I teach in different forms. I do private mentoring, and I also do group coaching. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the hypnosis. Now, QHHT is basically, it's a form of healing, clarity, and direction. It's like one of the most amazing really experiences that you can have if you want to look at your life. And it's a whole day process, and basically it's based on people preparing the list of the most important questions in their life. Anything they want to better understand, solve, clear, heal, anything at all. And they make like their top 10. And basically the premise is that in the subconscious mind there's a part of it that is incredibly, I would use the word infinitely, but let's say incredibly wise, knowledgeable. And it's not a like automatic subconscious. It's like, it's that 98% of the brain that scientists say we don't use. It's all there, and it has a voice. And we call it higher self in hypnosis. Sometimes also subconscious, but higher self. And essentially, when you bring a person in a state that is in a state of hypnosis in which the subconscious and the higher self can emerge, it can answer any question, solve any problem, and heal also the body. Because every time you ask the subconscious in that deep state why there's a certain ailment, it's always a message from the body. There's always something involved in the body trying to call the attention to the person and manifesting a symbol because the attention isn't really caught. And so, and it seems as if everything in life, according to the higher self and the way it expresses through different people in hypnosis, is essentially a lesson to learn. And so any health repeating problem, any relationship recurring patterns, any blockages, all of that is only because there's something we haven't understood about that aspect of our life. And when we understand it and graduate from that lesson, that don't just, a little bit, then that thing transforms or goes away. And so people come with all, you can imagine, 10 most important questions in your life. And I've seen hundreds and hundreds of people, so I've heard all possible important questions. And I've heard all the answers from the subconscious, thousands of answers across different cultures, different age groups. And the key is always love yourself and understand yourself. Those are the two things. And then whatever you do in order to love yourself and understand yourself will take you in the direction of being more yourself, like we were saying. So the QHHT is like one day of explosion of clarity, healing, and direction, but it doesn't mean the work is finished. It's like a high-level meeting. It's like, okay, pause life, go have a meeting with the divine inside, see what's going on, where am I getting it wrong, what am I getting right, why am I here in the first place, where am I going, and then go back to life with that clarity. So it's really, really amazing. So that's a bit about QHHT. I mean, I've been doing it now for 8 years. I've done hundreds and hundreds of sessions. They've granted me the higher level qualification. So there's, thousands of practitioners, but only a handful that are at the level 3. So great journey for me. I'm loving it.
That is just amazing to hear. I mean, I am fascinated by what you're sharing. I think because I'm opening up and discovering a lot of the language you're discussing, to hear it with such clarity, for me, it's just, wow. And I know when I go into meditation or lead a group, not on that level, but all the time I'm saying, listen to what you have to say. Listen to what you have to say. It's my message. It's just what I feel I need to say. And I think when we stop and we pause, we essentially are taking time to check in with ourselves, our needs, and those two fundamental things, like love yourself and understand yourself. That's hard, isn't it? But it's practice. So, yeah, that's amazing. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you.
So if someone listening would want to work with you in this way for the quantum healing hypnosis technique, can you talk us through what would that look like? So it's this intensive one-day training. Do you support people after that?
So essentially, when you do QHHT, the day is structured in 3 parts. The first part, people share the stories of their life. So I also get to hear from when they were born to the present day, everything that's important. And we then read the questions. By then I understand them better. And then in the hypnosis part, we audio record it so that the teacher becomes the higher self and not the practitioner. So I'm really a facilitator that knows how to carry a person into the state in which their own wisdom speaks. So it's different from other forms of hypnosis where maybe the practitioner might use positive suggestions, which are good, but normally they lay a little bit more on the surface because there's something underlying, which is the message and the lesson. And so you don't really want to substitute something with another until the lesson has been learned. So the recording becomes the post-session support. And people can reach out to me, and ask me questions, but it's also based on the fact where we don't create an attachment. And so the person comes, has their meeting with their higher self, receives their vision, their explanation, and then goes on their life. And I'm a spiritual mentor, so they can always come back and, unravel their things or come for another session, even though most people only need one session.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing to hear, because we do have all the answers inside ourselves, don't we? And, sometimes people will say, oh, you need X, Y, and Z, when we do have everything. So to hear that sort of clarity and just that knowing that you can provide this safe space, and it's a credit to you, isn't it? Because how wonderful that people are coming and trusting, because that's a big deal to share their life, to go into that state and feel supported. So that's amazing for you to have that. It must be quite rewarding to have people trusting you so deeply.
It is. It really is. And that's part of, my job in training. So part of our training is to essentially listen, zero judgment ever, and compassionate. And after you do it for some time, and also, you're on your own path, it becomes very natural. You take a step back and you observe, and you've heard all the mistakes of all the people, of all the generations, that are currently living, different cultures. And also you learn where the root of the problem was that led to those experiences, those poor choices, which, again, poor is a bit of a judgment. And so at some point you stop almost second guessing. Judgment is a second guessing. You're guessing what you would have done or what should be right. You're putting a layer on top of what happened. And so as we listen in this capacity, we don't put any layer on top of what happened. We just absorb it in a loving manner. And then we use that information to dialogue with the subconscious, almost to bring the case, like if it was a lawyer. I'm your lawyer with your higher self. I'm going to bring your case. I know everything about you, well, as much as I can, in 2-3 hours, but we take our time.
That's so fascinating. So you must see a whole range of ages.
Yes.
Different people,
Yes.
like you say, different backgrounds.
Yes.
And you're just developing and understanding more and more, which must give you insight into your own life and kind of your growth and everything with that, which is just so powerful.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It's another form of journaling, right? Because I'm bringing out the subconscious of somebody else, which is a reflection of me anyway. So I'm seeing it all. And for me, it was groundbreaking because my spiritual, earthly upbringing from when I had my awakening was very classical. It was very based on deep silence, deep connection with consciousness. But I didn't really have all of this understanding of, I've always heard the Buddha's inside of you, the answers are inside of you, the master's inside of you, but then I saw it in other people. So it wasn't just a personal experience or something reading in a book. It was like everybody had a master. And I would be able to speak to those parts in a very deep way.
Gosh, that's so would you say, I mean, we were going to take us up to the news, but you're going to stay with me, aren't you? Because we haven't finished yet.
Yes.
Would you say to come into the quantum healing hypnosis technique with you, that people without any level or experience of meditation or understanding just come in? Or do you think you have more people that have been on their own journey that arrive at this? Like, what does that look like for people listening?
Sure. I tend to work more with people that are kind of on a spiritual journey, but not everybody, and it's not a prerequisite. I think just to be open to the fact that you might have something inside of you that knows and understands and can really help you out is kind of the prerequisite. Open mind.
Open mind. Open heart.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so we're talking all about you, and meditation is something that's really close to your heart and has led you to where you are. So before I have to say goodbye to you this morning, let's just come back. Let's talk about human spiritual evolution, your website. We've touched on quantum healing hypnosis. Share your experience of meditation and how you share that with others.
Sure. So first of all, meditation has been probably my best resource in life. And I was a bit lucky because it found me, really, rather than me finding it. But it's something that is rising in the world a lot recently, and there's loads of things. You mentioned Insight Timer earlier, which has got also, a huge library. And so meditation is kind of on the rise because the awakening of people is also on the rise. And people are becoming more and more conscious of, what is happening to them. So meditation is basically the practice of being aware of oneself. And there's so many different techniques. And I usually divide meditation practices in 3 types. And one of it is basically, that I call type 1, is basically when you do a meditation with a certain objective. So if, for example, you go into yourself and you want to connect with your inner child, or if you go into yourself and want to maybe have an inner dialogue or heal a part of yourself, or go to, your childhood traumas, or have an imagination so that you could feel better. So all those things are actions that you do mindfully. So I call that type 1. Type 2 is a meditation where you're not doing anything. You're just observing. And so you don't have an action or a goal, but you do usually focus on something that you are observing. So it could be your body, for example. Some techniques, you scan the body up and down and just do that all the time and just observe whatever emerges. Other times you observe the mind, so you can, close your eyes and just notice all the thoughts that come and go without having any conscious attempt to change them or influence them. And then there's type 3, which is a transcendental meditation, which means that I basically learn how to shut down my body, my emotions, my mind, and I just reside in a state of pure silent consciousness. And so in that state, I just am. I'm not even learning about the mechanics of the mind. It's more an existential state. So those are the 3 types of meditation. Then within those you have loads of different types. So 1, you take a mindful action inside. You're doing something, you have an objective. 2, you're just observing, maybe your heart space, maybe your mind. 3, you reside in pure consciousness, pure silent consciousness. And that's my favorite practice, and that's what I consider my central practice, and the other ones revolving around it. And so that I've been sharing now for, 15, 20 years, long time. And so I do that through mentoring. I do it privately and I do it in groups, and so I offer both. And essentially, it's about learning and adopting techniques and principles that on a long-term basis and on a daily basis can help you grow and evolve humanly and spiritually.
Wow, a couple of questions coming through. So firstly, anyone that's listening that wants to find out about that, where can we find out about the classes and the work you do? Tell us all about that.
Sure. If you go on humanspiritualevolution.com, on my website, there will be the different classes and services. I also offer day retreats for people and also in groups, planning something soon. So yeah, on my website you can find all those different options and you can get in touch. I also offer free consultations to people. So there's a link to my diary and we can talk for 20 minutes and see if any of the work that I do might be able to help you.
Well, it looks amazing. It really does. Out of those meditations, I love how you break it down. You've clearly got a huge, I love it and teach parts of what you've said, but I've tried transcendental meditation. I find it really difficult. What was the most challenging part of meditation out of those different things you've shared? Did you have one that you find easier? Now, obviously, your favorite go-to practice is that last one, but how did that look for you?
For me, it was never in terms of easier or more difficult. For me, it was in terms of what is the highest, what is the most profound, and what is the most direct. And so early on from life and my teachers and my masters, I learned that silence was the most direct way. Because at the core, we are beings. And we do things and we tend to identify or think of ourselves about the things that we do, but before doing, we are. And so if we spend all our time just on the doing, even if the doing is thinking, or even if the doing is, feeling, we don't spend any time on the pure being, which is the most powerful part. It's subtle because you find it in silence. You can't find it in thinking because then you're doing something. You can't find it even in love. Because when you're feeling love, your being is having an action of feeling. There's movement. And so you find it through silence. And the question then becomes, how can I make the deepest silence that I could ever have? And it becomes a combination of 2 things. The technique and practice that you do, and how much you clear and you heal your subconscious. Because you can practice meditation, but sometimes you find rocks. You find levels and layers and traumas and things that emerge, and they throw you off. And so that silence becomes either disturbed or difficult to obtain and practice. Obtaining is also a bit of a messy word, but And so when you become enough aware of that, then you can go and, for example, use another type of practice that is more direct with what is emerging and what is blocking you in the moment. And once that's harmonized, you go back on the direct way, which is basically just residing in silence. So I was taught and found through experience that was, for me, the most powerful and direct way. And so I just did it.
So for someone wanting to sit in silence for the first time, what would you advise that looks like for them?
So if you want to do this without any type of, extensive training, just do it. The easiest thing is sit down and observe your breath coming in and out of your nose and your nostrils. And basically every time you notice you get distracted, whatever the distraction is, for the allotted time that you're doing it, you go back to observing the breath. And you do nothing else. Because that way, whatever action emerges, you're letting go of it and you're going back to that center. And so that's the practice. In yoga, they say that nobody can ever teach meditation, because meditation is the blossoming of a state of consciousness. So you can teach concentration, for example, and how to go back to the breath, but you can't teach the state of meditation that emerges once you are ready, because of practice, or you're lucky, or a combination of both, usually loads of practice, ready to just reside there.
Yeah, it's just, again, creating that space, isn't it, for people to have their own experience.
Yes.
And to be with that. So what length of time would you suggest for the first period of time? I mean, I have done this myself, but what would you suggest for silence? What's a good, so you get benefit,
So I would say it really depends on the person, and it depends on how eager they are. And so I would say a minimum of 5 minutes to 20 minutes is a very good amount of time, especially if you're just doing that. If you're going on all sorts of things and actions, then you might need a bit more time, or you're doing something different. So the observation of the breath is going towards the direction of the type 3 meditation, of just the pure being. You're not doing anything, you're not trying to do anything, and you're observing something so narrow that then in the deeper states, it disappears. There's no breath either. And it's almost like you can either, as you concentrate on the breath, you can either get distracted and your attention goes away, and it's almost like falling a little bit asleep. In fact, in meditation, you could be distracted for a whole minute before you even realize. So that's why we call it awakening, because the opposite is falling asleep. So you can go in that direction, but if you're so concentrated in flowing on the breath, then you go in the other direction, which is the breath disappears and you go in a state of complete, total silence. And there's better ways of doing it, but the breath is accessible to everybody and easy to do.
Wow, I'm learning so much this morning. Thank you. This is great for me and anyone listening. So thank you so much.
My pleasure and honor.
For coming in, honestly, and sharing all that. I've absolutely loved it. And as I've said, if you've just missed us, you can listen again to this conversation on Good Morning Marlow. Just go to marlowfm.co.uk, select Good Morning Marlow in today's date, and you can download the show as well. So thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share or leave us with before we go?
Sure. I just wanted to share briefly about a new project that I'm kind of thinking about and trying to put into practice, which is called Time Tribe. And I just kind of at some point thought about, as we do, about the world and the situation and the economical, apart from the political. And I realized that in a better society, we would have more time exchanged and less money exchanged, because the reality is that the nature of life is the experience that we have. We buy things to have the experience. And so basically create a space in which people can offer some of their spare time for an exchange of services. And in the beginning, it can be a swap service. So somebody might say, this week I have 3 hours that I would like to devolve, and I have these skills. And you would get matched up with somebody who might need that. And in the beginning, it could be like a time barter. And then later, as it evolves, you get time credits. so that time becomes a currency. And everybody's time is seen as equal. So people will, participate in the amount that they want and that they can with the time to spare, so that we give rise to a little bit of a side economy. I'm sure this won't be able to substitute money, because you got things, you got to buy food. But there's a portion of free or not efficiently used time that we all have, and we have skills and life experiences, and as well as our professions, our passions. And why not share it and get something in return, which is of equal value, which is somebody else's time, the same amount, but for something different. So Time Tribe.
I love it. How can we sign up to Time Tribe?
Well, if you get in touch with me through my website, so I haven't created the page yet, then, and you just mention that interest, I'll keep you in the loop and in mind and ask for help and for time for something like this to come to life.
Well, I think it's a brilliant idea.
Oh, thank you.
Honestly, I think
you.
That's really something. I haven't heard of anything like that before. And I love giving my time, and receiving time from others.
Beautiful.
It's literally invaluable when someone gives you their time.
Absolutely.
And I had a conversation just recently with someone, about gifts and money, and it was my birthday, and they're like, what do you want? I was like, I don't want anything except for time.
Yeah.
That's all we, time
Yes.
goes, and it's so precious. So what an amazing thing to offer. Totally support that. So good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
So you heard it here, humanspiritualevolution.com if you'd like to stay in touch. But can you also give us your Instagram handle and any other social media outlets we can...
Sure. They all have Human Spiritual Evolution. So if you look on Instagram, Human Spiritual Evolution, you'll find it. And same thing on Facebook. Facebook, you can probably find me as Ignazio Dentici.
That's it. I didn't pronounce it quite like that.
No,
I did not.
You did pretty good. You did pretty good.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
You,
and we're going to play you out with Bob Marley and One Love, because you do love Bob Marley. And we didn't have some of the other lovely music choices, did we? So thank you so much for being with me today.
It's pleasure.
Been an absolute pleasure for me. And we'll have to follow up on this in the future.
Absolutely.
So playing you out with Bob Marley. Have a great time in Italy.
Thank you, Kelly, and goodbye to everybody.
Thank you.